Welcome to Jimmy's Asylum Secret, where you'll uncover the hidden truth behind Jimmy's dramatic journey to Britain. In this gripping short story, you'll explore the complexities of a man driven by desperation and deceit, navigating the intricate path of a life reinvented under false pretenses. Prepare to delve into a world of suspense and revelation as Jimmy's secrets come to light, offering a unique glimpse into the lengths one might go for a new beginning. Enjoy the story, and thank you for joining us. On a sunlit afternoon in Elmbridge, Britain, Jimmy, a staunch Afrikaner traditionalist and single parent, sat in a local park with his only daughter. They were enjoying a small braai, the warmth of the sun accentuating their laughter. The serenity of the day was a stark contrast to the story that was about to unfold. Jimmy's daughter, curious about their past, asked how he ended up in Britain despite having no formal education or scarce skills. As the smoke from the braai drifted upwards, Jimmy took a deep breath and began to share a tale he had never told anyone before. It all started in 1994, when Jimmy was a young man from Lindley in the Free State. His father had passed away just before the end of apartheid, leaving his mother and two younger sisters behind. As South Africa faced a transition in government, many anticipated a civil war and fled to countries like Australia, New Zealand, Britain, and the USA. Jimmy, however, knew little about immigration requirements, but was aware of a few key points. You could leave your country in cases of civil war, natural disaster, or persecution. South Africa faced none of these conditions, but Jimmy concocted a plan. He decided to claim asylum in Britain under the pretense that South Africa would soon start persecuting same-sex relationships due to the changing government, a situation he had fabricated entirely. In reality, Jimmy was a devout Christian and a traditionalist who opposed same-sex relationships. His mother was unaware of this elaborate scheme, only knowing that Jimmy was eager to seek opportunities abroad. On the day of departure, Jimmy's excitement was palpable. He had booked a flight for 9:30 a.m. and had his mother drive him to the airport at 4:45 a.m., as the journey from Lindley was long. They arrived at Jan Smuts Airport just in time. His mother was anxious and disheartened by the uncertainty of Jimmy's venture. Fast forward to his arrival in Britain, Jimmy's mixed feelings were evident. Though Britain and South Africa had historical ties due to colonialism, Jimmy faced a new challenge. As he disembarked from the plane, a British policeman approached him, asking for his travel documents and the purpose of his visit. Jimmy, with a voice laden with nerves, tried to explain his convoluted story about being a refugee fearing persecution of same-sex relationships in South Africa, a story far from the truth, as there was no such persecution at the time, and Jimmy himself was homophobic. The policeman, though puzzled, listened patiently. He inquired if Jimmy had a place to stay and sufficient funds. Jimmy replied that he had £2,000 and had booked a hotel for only 3 days. After a lengthy discussion covering politics, religion and more, the policeman, moved by Jimmy's plight, offered him a solution. He invited Jimmy to stay at his home in a spare room until he could sort out his life. What started as a sunny day of relaxation and storytelling turned into a revelation of Jimmy's complex past and the unconventional journey that brought him to Britain. As Officer Will prepared to end his shift, he turned to Jimmy, a weary man on the verge of despair. "Wait for me at the nearby restaurant," Will instructed, his voice tinged with an eerie calm that hinted at something more than just a simple meal. Moments later, Will returned, his demeanor softened, but his eyes held a glint of something darker as he led Jimmy to his small flat. It was a modest one-bedroom unit with an open-plan kitchen and sitting room, a stark contrast to the grandeur of the police station and the weight of the decision Jimmy was about to make. During their short walk to his flat, Will began recounting his experiences with arresting illegal immigrants, detailing the process of detaining them and eventually deporting them after a few weeks. His tone was casual, almost too casual, but it carried an undertone of authority and inevitability that made Jimmy's heart race. As they entered the flat, Will turned to Jimmy with a welcoming smile, one that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Make yourself comfortable, Jimmy. This is your new home." They ordered dinner, the food arriving swiftly as if orchestrated by fate. They ate in silence, the air thick with unspoken tension. Every bite Jimmy took felt like a betrayal to his own freedom. After dinner, Will suggested they shower, the routine normalcy contrasting with the brewing storm of emotions. As the steam filled the small bathroom, creating a fog that mirrored Jimmy's muddled thoughts, Will confessed his deepest secret. "Jimmy, I have to tell you something. I'm also gay like you, and I have feelings for you." Jimmy's world shattered with those words. As he wasn't gay, but the fear of being arrested and deported left him no choice. He was thousands of kilometers away from home, isolated and desperate. With no other options, Jimmy reluctantly played along, feeling trapped in a nightmare. The weight of pretense bore down on Jimmy like an unrelenting storm, consuming every ounce of his resolve. Each day was a battle, but he had to remain steadfast for the promise of a new life in Britain. His first night in bed was a cruel ordeal, a trial by fire he recounted with raw honesty to his daughter. As he spoke, her tears flowed like rivers of anguish, a heartbreaking testament to his suffering. Yet Jimmy pressed on, his narrative relentless and vivid, leaving no shadow of a doubt unexamined. Even in the steamy confines of the shower, where he tried to find solace, Will intruded, joining him in the cascade of hot water. They shared these moments of intimacy with a veneer of normalcy. All the while, Jimmy played along, knowing that these sacrifices were the price of a brighter future in Britain. Despite his inner turmoil, they formed a facade of a couple. The days blurred into weeks, and with Will's connections, Jimmy miraculously became a British citizen within 12 months. Each day felt like a year, the weight of pretense crushing his spirit. Jimmy's resentment grew with each passing day, his spirit eroding under the weight of pretense. The charade wore thin, but he endured, hoping for a way out. He became adept at hiding his true feelings, his smiles never reaching his eyes, his laughter hollow. He lived in a constant state of anxiety, his heart pounding with fear every time Will looked at him with expectation and longing. When he finally secured a job, he seized his chance. One night, he packed his belongings and left Will, his heart pounding with a mix of relief and fear. Will's reaction was as expected, a mix of betrayal and heartbreak, his cries echoing in Jimmy's mind long after he had left. The fallout from Jimmy's decision rippled through his life. His daughter, upon discovering the truth, was mortified. The revelation was the final straw for his wife, who had already filed for divorce. The year-long same-sex relationship, forced upon him by circumstances, left scars that would never fully heal. Despite never truly accepting the situation, Jimmy's primary concern was the well-being of his daughter. He hoped that his sacrifices had not been in vain, that his daughter would understand one day. Jimmy's story became a cautionary tale, a thriller that left those who heard it on the edge of their seats. As human beings, we all make sacrifices for the future. During his ordeal, Jimmy was a single man without children. He met his wife years after enduring these painful sacrifices. Now, as his daughter asked how he came to Britain, Jimmy couldn't shake the gnawing suspicion that his estranged wife, who had filed for divorce, had already divulged everything to their daughter before moving to live with her parents in Glasgow. Despite her resolve to leave for good, she continued to visit Jimmy and their daughter, each visit laden with unspoken tension. The air crackled with unease as his wife grew more distant, while Jimmy's daughter clung to him, seeking comfort. The emotional rift within the family deepened, casting a shadow over their strained interactions. The intense emotions, the heart-pounding fear, and the desperate choices painted a vivid picture of a man caught in a web of lies and deceit, struggling to reclaim his life. Each moment of forced intimacy with Will was a reminder of his helplessness, his lack of agency in a foreign land. The constant fear of being exposed, of having his new life ripped away from him, was a shadow that loomed over every aspect of his existence. The isolation Jimmy felt was profound. In a city teeming with life, he was utterly alone, his every move dictated by the need to maintain the charade. He avoided eye contact with neighbors, fearing their curiosity, their potential to unravel his carefully constructed lie. Every night, as he lay in bed beside Will, he plotted his escape, his mind a maelstrom of fear and determination. When he finally walked away from Will, it was with a heart heavy with regret and a soul weary from the charade. The taste of freedom was bittersweet, tainted by the knowledge of what he had endured to achieve it. His daughter's embarrassment and his wife's final departure were the last nails in the coffin of his old life, sealing away any remnants of his former self. Jimmy's story, with its raw emotions and heart-wrenching twists, serves as a stark reminder of the lengths to which desperation can drive a person. It is a tale of survival against all odds, of the human spirit's resilience in the face of unimaginable circumstances. And as those who hear his story sit on the edge of their seats, they are left to wonder what they would do in Jimmy's shoes, how far they would go to escape the shadows of their own nightmares. As Jimmy's agonizing tale drew to a close, the sun dipped beneath the horizon, casting long shadows that crept across the darkening sky. The once warm glow of daylight was swallowed by the encroaching darkness. His modest home, just across the street from the park, seemed a world away as they packed up their braaiing stand, signaling the end of their small picnic. Astonishingly, the narrative had a profound impact on his daughter, her entire demeanor transformed, her support for her father becoming palpable. Driven by the intensity of his story, she poured every ounce of her energy into mending the fractured marriage of her parents. Against all odds, their relationship held firm, their bond strengthened by the trials they had endured. They remained together, united in their shared struggle. Yet this tale leaves us with haunting questions that linger in the shadows of our minds. Are the sacrifices we make truly worth it? This family, faced with their adversities, seemed to find an unexpected strength in their shared trials. The enemy they needed was not a person but the very challenges that threatened to tear them apart. These revelations forged them into something unbreakable, a testament to the enduring power of unity in the face of relentless adversity.